At the tone, 3 hours, 35 minutes. Coordinated Universal Time.
The breeze at dawn has ceased to tell you. Don't go back to sleep. You must ask for what you really want. Don't go back to sleep. People are going back and forth across the door sill where the two worlds touch. The door is round and open. Don't go back to sleep. Roomy.
God's word is
nobody knows what you mean. But if somehow you could pack up your sorrows and give them all to me, you would lose them. I know how to use them. Give them all to me. No use rambling, walking in the shadows, trailing a wandering star. No one beside you, no one to hide you, and nobody knows what you are. But if somehow you could pack up your sorrows and give them all to me, you would lose them. I know how to use them. Give them all to me. No use roaming, going by the roadside, seeking a satisfied mind. Too many highways, too many byways, and nobody's walking behind. But if somehow you could pack up your sorrows and give them all to me, you would lose them. I know how to use them. Give them all to me. But if somehow you could pack up your sorrows and give them all to me, you would lose them. I know how to use them. Give them all to me.
Out beyond ideas of wrongdoing and right doing, there's a field. I'll meet you there. When the soul lies down in that grass, the world is too full to talk about. Ideas, language, even the phrase each other doesn't make any sense. We need to be warriors of love and truth and care. We need to be warriors of love and truth and care. That ascensionist path up the mountain, back to God, back to the source, back to the highest high, back to where we all came from. That ascensionist path up the mountain, back to God, back to the source, back to the highest high, back to where we all came
Well, if you see me passing by and you sit and you wonder why, and you wish that you were a rambler too, nail your shoes to the kitchen floor, lace 'em up and bar the door. Thank your stars for the roof that's over you. And I can't help but wonder where I'm bound, where I'm bound. Can't help but wonder where I'm bound.
Let's go. Come on, Issa. Come on now. Come on. You got it. Yes. Good girl. You ready to get this walk started, huh? Huh, beautiful? Well, let's go on a walk and let's talk to God, okay? Let's talk to humanity. Let's talk to our comrades. And let's talk to Spirit. So you ready to go? Let's start this journey. Come on, Issa. I'll talk to you too if you want to listen.
What was said to the rose that made it open was said to me here in my chest. What was told the cypress that made it strong and straight. What was whispered the jasmine, so it is what it is. Whatever made sugar cane sweet. Whatever was said to the inhabitants of the town of Sigils in Turkestan that makes them so handsome. Whatever lets the pomegranate flower blush like a human face, that is being said to me now. I blush. Whatever put eloquence in language, that's happening here. The great warehouse doors open. I fill with gratitude, chewing a piece of sugar cane, in love with the one to whom every that belongs. What was said to the rose that made it open was said to me here in my chest.
reflect the myriad colored lights of love and space. Love and space. Lord, open my heart and space. Lord, bring me near and space. Lord, open my heart and Lord, make it into a myriad space to reflect the myriad colored lights of love and space. Lord, open my heart. Lord, bring me near. Lord, open my heart. Lord, make it into a mirror to reflect the myriad colored lights of love and space. Lord, open my heart.
Breath is the ship, and the tides entwined. Surrender to the letting go of the sorrow within, the exhaling ebb, and to letting in the joy within, the inhaling flow. Ocean breath, heal me with hope and take us back home. Like a wild turkey caught in a cage, the noose draws tighter when you dance with darkness. Seaside spirits encircle around the unmasked ship. At the Great North, Quoddy Head Lighthouse, I cast out my tribulations to the great deep, to the mighty, mighty ocean, to reel in the ever-flowing river of regeneration. As the sacred sea and holy waters illuminate the body temple. To revel ad infinitum in the sacrament of ether. I shall drink deep from the chalice of gilded truth, spiraling inward on the enchanted path upward, to gaze upon the glorified coven of the highest of high.
Now, more than ever, I keep being pulled to the archetype and mythos around the Archangel Michael and its relative and powerful meaning, who is like God, and how this mythic being was charged to fight the darkness and, so to speak, slay the dragons. It appears that this mythos from esoteric Christianity is a symbol for the darkness and evil that lurks around every corner in the shadows of this profound riddle and conundrum known as the human condition, and our collective calling to battle it within the legion of light we are devoted and loyal to. If our souls are not compromised in allegiance to the darkness, my entire life has been a delicate and precarious balance between unbridled moments of joy and wonder that upwells into luminosity, like the consistent rising of the morning sun, only to dissipate into sorrow and strife when the day predictably turns to nightfall on the far side of dusk and the darkness that ensues. This ancient transcendental sky clock above appears to be a star-field disk, and a glass firmament silently clicks by with enchanted wheels spinning high above, like the intricate mechanisms deep within a Victorian pocket watch. The seconds, minutes, hours, days, months, years, decades, and eons, bringing us the day and the night, spring and summer, fall and winter, eclipses, luminary transits and alignments, solar minimum and maximums, 100-year and 1,000-year cycles, and the unfathomable grand cycles and beyond, associated with the meticulously accurate Vedic and Mayan astrological calendars going back to time immemorial. It's also, I think, when you're on that path, which is, it's an uplifting, energetic path, and you're generally speaking, your consciousness is going to be at a higher chakra realm, and you're going to be based in your heart, but still connected to your crown chakra. When you have that bridge between the two, and you can really connect to the source, then the artwork that you make and the words that you speak and the gestures that you create and the love that you share with people, it's coming from the source. And I think the true mystic, the right-hand path is the path of logos, and obviously the left-hand path is a pact with the darkness. And I've definitely I'm on the right-hand spiral path, back up the mountain of love.
Like a bird on the wire, and like a drunk in some old midnight choir, I have tried in my way, and like a word on a hook, and like a night from some old-fashioned book, I have saved all my remnants for thee. And if I have been unkind, I hope that you can just let it go by.
forgive me if I sinned. Forgive me if I know not right from wrong. Sometimes. For oh, when I find a taste I like and eat too much, and when I live with plants and deny them water and sun, but it's not that I tried to do bad. There's a way we all go where the bushes grow, and we wait for someone to cut them down. Forgive me if I sinned.
When I think of sacred geometry, I instantly think of the concept of logos, which I just attempted to extrapolate and miserably failed, because I think language transcends trying to describe what these concepts are. So at least I attempted to get a handle on that idea. But sacred geometry is just another metaphor for the highest realm of a great example of how this whole beautiful realm that we're living in, it's almost certain that it was made by some creator or some coven of creators, and that the idea is that in sacred geometry is not only is it found everywhere in nature, and the whole fabric of the essence of life itself is brimming with it, But me personally, intuitively, when I was younger, I've always made artwork that was very calculated, and it was very symmetrical, and it was deliberate, and it was methodical. There was a lot of consciousness, a lot of intention, a lot of love and care that went into my work. And over the last maybe decade or so, I've really heavily gotten into sacred geometry with all of my artwork. I'm a full-time artisan, and a part-time paradigm smasher, or part-time philosopher, but mainly my main identity is that I make art, and in my artwork I'm naturally, because I'm a child of God, I'm charged to manifest and mirror this reality. So all of my artwork is riddled with sacred geometrical substructures, and a lot of my tattoo work is too. And I really can't really think any other way. I attempt to work in other ways, but there's always a substructure to what I do, and I see that some of the most amazing work that I connect to, it has some kind of intelligence and some deliberation and some deep thought behind it, especially when it's based in reflecting and mirroring this great mystery that we're in, which I think the artwork that I like to manifest and that I connect with is deeply based in sacred geometry. I've always liked the term mysticism because I looked at it as a really broad canopy, a really broad tapestry that covered a lot of terrains. So you can actually fit into the concept of what it means to be a mystic into a lot of these different, what they consider the mystery school traditions. And it doesn't matter in which discipline of religion or spirituality or traditional aboriginal or ethnic or earth-based religions and stuff, they all seem to be in their purest forms attempting to ascend some type of mountain back to God. And when they're based in goodness or in love, you can see a lot of truth within all these different disciplines. So the mystic path is what I would consider the spiral path up the mountain. And if you have all these other dozens of disciplines that just take the singular, they're only practicing their one discipline there. It's like a straight path up the mountain. But the mystic's path, you get to hang out with all these cool people, and you get to walk next to all these different seekers, these different seers, and as you're walking up that spiral path up the mountain, you're passing by all of these different traditions. And I find that there's another cool word for this tradition. It's called the ascensionist path, which is the spiral path. And I've always considered myself on that path, on that spiral path up the mountain, back to the source. And I really like the term, and I'm comfortable with it, and I do use it at times when it's appropriate. And I find it frustrating when people don't have a really blossoming view of the term, and they try to just take it out of context and appeal to ridicule if you attempt to use a word like that. I think that's why we're here, is to be the seeker, the soothsayer, the sage, the oracle. We want to divine the essence of this great riddle. We want to get to the source of this grand, mysterious tremendum. It's exciting, and it's fun, and it's soulful, and it's full of spirit.
Like a bird on a wire, like a drunk in a midnight choir. I have tried in my own way to be free. Like a worm on a hook, like a knight in an old-fashioned book. I have saved all of my ribbons just for you. And if I've been unkind, I hope that you let it go right on by. And if I've been untrue, I hope that you know it was not to you, like a baby stillborn, and like a beast with his horns. I have torn everyone who's reached out to me. But I swear, by this whole song and by all that I've done wrong, I'm gonna make it, I'm gonna make it all up to you. I saw a beggar man, I saw a beggar man leaning on his wooden crutch, and he cried out to me, I must not ask for so much. Saw a pretty woman leaning on her darkened door. She cried out to me, hey, why not ask for more? And like a bird on a wire, like a drunk in a midnight choir, I have tried in my own way to be free.
It was 100% in love. The darkness couldn't touch me. I just had that beautiful awakening, the mystic's journey up the mountains, where I sat there completely at peace, that meditative bodhisattva moment where I was just, the darkness couldn't touch me. And it was there that I realized that I had arrived, that I didn't need that sacrament anymore, and that the big lesson for me is that every single day that you wake up, that realm is a reflection and a mirror and a metaphor and an experience for this realm. If we are arguably made of consciousness, when you close your eyes and you're like, what is primary to reality? What is base reality? It's consciousness. It's not the body. It's not this world that you can touch and that you interact with. It's not the material plane, but it's the spiritual plane or the astral plane. So if consciousness is primary, if it's primal, if it's the foundation of this great mystery we live in, then I have the ability to choose every single day. Am I going to be full of love and light and creativity and happiness, or am I going to let the darkness in? And overwhelmingly, though I'm guilty of struggling in those realms, I always remember that lesson, and I always choose to be in a good mood, to be happy, to be joyful, to be loving, to be caring, to reach out to friends, and to be, to teach people and to guide people. I always choose that over more oppressive things of guilt and shame and control and manipulation. On the note of what you're saying, I think what's really, and again, thank you for providing this environment for me to talk about what I would consider the essence of Watson, is that I have really, I think I've awakened, I've had enough experience in my 49 years of living to have my dark night of the soul of the human condition, and I've had all kinds of experiences, and now I think I'm ready for my great work because, and And this is, I don't think you're ready to really awaken and to go the rest of the path up that mountain until you're full, 100% full of light. And there's no darkness, but you're aware that the darkness is everywhere. And you have the sacred masculine within you to be able to look the darkness in the face and call it out for what it is. And so that sacred warrior, that sacred, authentic, masculine energy in harmony with the sacred feminine attributes too, these rise up, and then we can actually be mystical beings connected to the source and connected to this sub-reality of consciousness and of connection to the great riddle, while also at the same time being able to to have our shields up and our swords and put our boots on and go to the front lines and acknowledge that there's darkness afoot.
Send you a letter from the front line. Please send applause and some good advice. You were born with a compass, a map on your table. Tell me, how did you find out your bearings were wrong? Just pray for us, pray for sunshine. These days are cold and I'm missing you. The city is no place to lose. Oh, but I never thought I could choose. It was plain from the start, plain from the start, I was playing for time. I need laughter and love, some special drug, I need cigarettes. There's killers behind us, devils ahead, send protection. I will drown in this city, I will drown in this trench built for us. And the only thing left, yeah, the only thing left is the running. And these clouds keep on rolling and I don't know why. Take this guitar right out of my hands, I surrender. This town don't want drunkards or singers or bad poetry. They want dancing and drugs and laughter, and we don't have them. Pray for us, pray for sunshine. These days are cold and I'm missing you. This letter was meant for your eyes. Destroy it and then just go hide. You're the only thing left that makes any sense. Please don't blow it.
Said I didn't need you, but look at me now. Sometime in the summer, when we're lying in the breeze,
I'd like to touch you, but I've forgotten how. And said I didn't need you, but look at me now. Sometime in the summer, when we're lying in the breeze, the breeze will kill me. The breeze will kill me. I tried to follow the path that you're on. Something in me is stubborn, I keep going wrong. If you can forgive me now, we'll meet up in another land. When the breeze has killed me, when the breeze has killed me. Sometime in the summer, when we're lying in the grass, and the breeze, and the breeze, well, my baby cries when he's tired. Puppy howls with the moon. You can never be sure of the people that you know when they don't want to show you their sadness. Yesterday I talked with my father. said that we could never win. It's so hard to tell where I am and my father begins. So if you see me passing by, please hold me deep in your heart. And just remember, I want to help you. I don't want to hurt you. Just remember, I want to help you. I don't want to hurt you. So don't tear it apart. When my baby cries, when he's tired, my puppy howls with the moon. With the grace of a corpse in a riptide, I let go, and I slide, slide, slide down river with an empty case by my side. An empty case, that's my crime. And I sing, say Valley Maker, to keep from cursing. Yes, I sing, say Valley Maker, to keep from cursing. River, river end, river, river end, river go, river bend. Take me through the sweet valley where your heart bloom, bloom, bloom. Take me through the sweet valley where your heart is covered in dew, dew, dew. And when the river dries, will you bury me in wood? Where the river dries, will you bury me in stone? I never really realized death is what it meant to make it on my own. 'Cause there is no love where there is no obstacle, and there is no love where there is no bramble, and there is no love on the hacked away plateau, and there is no love in the unerring, and there is no love on the one true path. Oh, I cantered out here, now I'm galloping back. So bury me in wood, and I will splinter. Bury me in stone, and I will quake. Bury me in water, and I will geyser. Bury me in fire, and I'm gonna phoenix. I'm gonna phoenix.
I'd like to touch you, but I've forgotten how. Said I didn't need you, but look at me now. Sometime in the summer, when we're lying in the breeze, you can never be sure of the people you know when they don't want to show you their sadness. Just remember, I want to help. I don't want to hurt you. Just remember, I want to help you. Don't want to hurt you. So don't tear it apart. My baby cries when he's tired. My puppy howls with the moon.
Dawn, you rise from your chair, and the rays from your face embroider the universe. More graceful than the cypress or the rose. My God, what is this subtlety, this finesse? Whatever you command, death or sorrow, whatever you say, whatever you want. Are you a soul that comes and goes so quickly? Are you a life that leaves and does not return. You sleep, curled into yourself. How I want your petaled eyes this morning to fall first on me. My heart, in separation, in loneliness, what a fine affliction, cries for justice. SKRY scans the horizon every night, waiting for you like a crescent moon to rise above the roofs.
The day breaks, it's broken, and time comes undone. Standing still's the sun. I'm leaving this evening, but first night must come. Standing still's the I'm walking in circles that gradually grow still in the sunlight glow. On bridges past churches, through fields I've roamed, stillness round me glows. to change. I'm time going to
A tar, the dullard sage. Lost in myself, I reappeared, I know not where. A drop that rose from the sea and fell and dissolved again. A shadow that stretched itself out at dawn. When the sun reached noon, I disappeared. I have no news of my coming or passing away. The whole thing happened quicker than a breath. Ask no questions of the moth. In the candle flame of her face, I have forgotten all the answers. In the way of love, there must be knowledge and ignorance. So I have become both a dullard and a sage. One must be an eye and yet not see. So I am blind, and yet I still perceive. Dust beyond my head. If I can say where I, in bewilderment, have wandered, SKRY watched his heart transcend both worlds, and under its shadow now has gone mad with love.
Yeah, the creative act is one of those ideas too. Is that if you're, I like to think that depending on whether you're full of light or full of darkness, will direct what your creative act is on what you make, and the type of art or the type of whatever it is that you're manifesting. You know, you have to. I like to think now, especially now more than ever, in my creative act, the more that I lift my spirit and the more that I attempt to walk this path, this mystic's path, the more inspiration I get because I'm connected closer to the self, and I'm almost overwhelmed with an amazing flood, an ocean of ideas. I'm constantly thinking about art. I'm constantly thinking about creative stuff, and it's because I think that I'm lifting my spirit. And I think the closest, if I could give anybody advice if they want to open up those floodgates, is that connect to spirit and to connect to your heart chakra and to your higher realms, and start practicing a meditation practice or just calming your life and developing some kind of discipline where you can pull energy from the source. And in that process, once you discover what it is that you love to do, which there's, as Rumi said, there's 100 different ways to kneel and kiss the ground that you walk on. I've been on the road now for 4 weeks. I initially started this East Coast road trip on the Hopen Road, driving from Maine to Georgia, initially to attend the Flattober Flat Earth Conference in Greenville, South Carolina, which was absolutely amazing. I was able to meet a lot of really cool people, and my particularly favorite person to meet was Mike Williams from SKRY. And the story goes is that I was invited to the event via Karen B, and I kept telling her she needs to invite Mike Williams, who lives relatively close to Greenville, and she contacted him, and he agreed to come. And not only was he there, but he gave a really impressive hour-long lecture, and then I was able to actually meet him in the evening, and I gifted him some of the flat earth artwork that I had got printed up, and gave him a nice gift. Met him and his wife and had a really amazing time. Hung out with some of my friends that I had met over the years at the different conferences I had been to, and the community is really incredible. I really love the truth community, and the alternative media research scene is just full of a lot of kindred spirits. So that was the beginning of this road trip, and from there I ended up spending some time up in Asheville and in the regions outside of Asheville, hanging out with some friends. And then I moved my way down to Georgia, hung out with my daughter and some friends there, and spent some time in North Georgia, and went into Atlanta, and then now I'm working my way back up the coast via the mountain route. I always like to take the interstate that follows the Appalachian mountain range. It's a much quieter and more contemplative route than, say, 95 is. So I'm working my way back up the coast. It's been exactly a month, and I'm heading back into New England, and particularly into the Maine region. And I'm going to be excited to connect with all of my New England friends and Maynard friends as I continue to tattoo and adorn people with temple embellishments, do my research and study, make some new artwork, and just live my creative lifestyle that I live, officially kind of traveling around and being nomadic, and always kind of, like I said, on the Hopen Road. So the series that I'm doing right now that I want to start is this idea called these 5-minute monologues, where I'm going to set a kitchen timer, and for 5 minutes I have to talk about a particular topic and try to consolidate it and delineate it into a 5-minute soundbite, so to speak. And then once the bell goes off, then I'll go on to the next topic, and I'll have to talk for 5 minutes about that topic. I think the way that I want to go to is to have it to where it's a nice balance between light topics and darker topics, or topics revolving around uplifting ideas, and then topics revolving around kind of heavier narratives. So I'm going to be kind of going back and forth, and I think I want to talk about all kinds of interesting things. I just literally want to have a cornucopia of topics that I can speak about in the context of these 5-minute monologues. Magic. What a topic that is. The rise of the esoteric arcane tradition of magic in our culture and our pop culture has completely exploded. But it's important to delineate the difference between light and dark magic, or white and black magic. I think everybody, to a certain extent, is a magician or weaves magic in whatever way they do. But it's the intention behind your will that delineates whether it's light, gray, or dark magic. And I think that with everything I'm attempting to do all the time, all of my artwork, all of my sacraments, my creative endeavors, the engagements that I have with friends and family and just self, I'm always coming from a place of love and care and gratitude with everything that I do. So because of that, the artwork that I make, the magic that I spin, the magic that I manifest is imbued with these attributes. So a lot of times you can tell whether something is light or dark magic. Like, for instance, I think that the entire concept of vaccines is a form of dark magic, because I don't believe that those things actually help you. I think we're being lied to with enormous academic fraud, and those things are actually really harmful to us. I think fluoridated water is a form of dark magic. It's a neurotoxin inhibitor. Heliocentrism and the concepts of evolution and this nihilistic idea of the Big Bang Theory, that we evolved from some primordial soup, is actually a form of dark magic. It's manipulation, it's academic fraud, it's deception, it's lies, it's inverting true knowledge, it's inverting the truth itself. And then so you always have to ask yourself, when you look at anyone's intention or the artwork that people make, or the poetry they spin, the music that they make, what kind of frequency does that intention resonate in? Is it a dark, heavy, oppressive energy field? Or is it uplifting and hopeful and expansive and ambient? So in essence, I think the difference between those two primordial forces is love and fear. Is an insidious force and a generative force. And I'm always overwhelmingly, especially now in this second act of my life, I'm brimming with light. As you can see behind me, the sun. I'm climbing the mountain of Lux.
A ship in the harbor will always stay safe, tied up to a dock, and why it was made. Graves went through the sail. It's wood on the way, bared to the grain unknown, and one on 2 fathoms. There live the spoils, but the price of the barrel ain't worth the oil, man. The season is old. Steering towards home through the peace of someplace to go. And I need you now. No
loud, like thunder, the storm's coming down. You're my lighthouse, you save my soul. You save my soul. Don't let the sound of a siren take you off course, and don't trade the vessel for the cargo it holds in both high sea and low tide. Keep an eye on the road, steady as she goes. Magenta sky in the morning, less gentle by means. The white caps will surely kick the heel of the moon, and the stars that like I've placed it to guide me on. And I need you now, no other. Go ahead, get loud, like thunder, the storm's coming down. You're my lighthouse, you save my soul. You save my soul. You save my soul. You save my soul. When I was writing this, I got to thinking about how a lighthouse has to watch the things it loves leave it. That broke my heart. I said we put this sing-along in the middle, make it better. So if you guys want to sing with the waiting on me part, that would be something extra special. Go like this. You keep waiting on me, can't keep waiting on me. Why you waiting on me? I'm gone. You keep waiting on me, can't keep waiting on me. Why you waiting on me? I'm gone. You keep waiting on me, can't keep waiting on me. Why you waiting on me? I'm gone. I'm gone. But I need you now. No other. Go ahead, get loud, like thunder, the storm's coming down. You're my lighthouse, you save my soul. You save my soul.
I'm an old man now, can't do nothing. Young folks don't pay me no mind. But in my day, I sure was something. Before I felt the heavy hand of time. I'm an old man now, I'm bound for glory. It's time to lay these burdens down. Had enough of this old world of worry. Gonna trade my troubles for a crown. I will make my way across the fields of cotton and wade through muddy waters one last time. And in my dreams I come out clean when I reach the other side, west of where the sun sets, where rainbows never die. I've got one last thing to do, one more mile before I'm through, casting off these earthly chains, going where there's no more pain. I will make my way across the fields of cotton and wade through muddy waters one last time. And in my dreams I come out clean when I reach the other side, just west of where the sun sets, where rainbows never die. I'm an old man now, can't do nothing. Young folks don't pay me no.
Took the train down to Brighton. This room's too high to sleep. Hardwood hidden under carpet. Young love howling in the street. And those rainy days in London felt like the rain inside of me. I've been carrying around this baggage for too long. Oh, think I'll leave it by the sea. Oh, leave it by the sea, with the ruins of my past and worry whisper. Oh, leave it by the sea, with the things that I've done wrong and you got used to. 'Cause I was an anchor in my old life, rusted me. I lived my life upon the shore, never touched the sea, but I knew I was an anchor. Yes, I believed I was an anchor. So leave me by the sea, with the ruins of my past and worry whisper. Oh, leave me by the sea, with the things that I've done wrong and you got used to. 'Cause I'm an anchor now, keep me or throw me out. Leave me by the sea. You guys help us sing? I've never been so lost, no, no. 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 I've never been so lost. Leave me by the sea. Oh, leave me by the sea. Leave me by the sea.
I've never been so lost, no, no. I've never been so lost, no, no. I've never been so lost, no, no.
I've never been so lost, no, no. I've never been so lost, no, no. I've never been so lost, no, no. I've never been so. Leave me by the sea.
just like the sun over the mountain tops. You know I'll always come again. You know I love to spend my times like sunlight dancing on your skin. I've never gone so wrong as for telling lies to you. What you see is what I've been. There is nothing I could hide from you. You see me better than I can. Out on the road that lies before me now, there are some times where I will spin. I only hope that you can hold me now, till I can gain control again. Like a lighthouse, you must stand and mark a sailor's journey's end. No matter what seas I have been sailing on, I'll always roll this way again. Out on the road that lies before me now,
the context of these poetic meanderings relevant to this metaphysical tale I am spinning is the curious surrender and gratitude of finally accepting my birth name that I've been avoiding my entire life. We all have elements of St. Michael within us. We all have a warrior spirit imbued with our essence to go up to the darkness and the shadow with conviction and bravery. Look this ancient vampiric force in the eye and emphatically state with no reservations, you shall not pass. You are not welcome across the door sill of this temple body. I am made of light and gold, of love and care, of unity and compassion, of fire and earth, of water and air, of silver and sulfur, of salt and mercury, and of life and death, and life again and again. You and your battalion of vampiric dark shadows are not welcome in the sacred coven of sentient light beings in communion with truth and logos, with wisdom and wonder, with joy and hope. For we are all children of the highest high and the grand mysterious tremendum, echoing throughout these ever-present sonic vibrational realms of transcendental wonder. We all revel in the mystery and are in all of the great unknown realms in which we came from and will return. We shall all thrive in this illuminated tribe we are amidst. We shall turn our sorrow into joy, our tribulation into hope, and our pain into love on our path up the mountain, back to the source of creation itself.
Somehow in my excitement, the last time you called, it slipped again to ask your hidden whereabouts. I got a lead from your old triple ex-girlfriend. She said, I heard he lost his mind again and again. I said I didn't know that you ever did. My mother of 3 sons, you're the oldest juvenile delinquent bum. My best friend.
On that high vibration of actually being based in doing really positive things that we would naturally be inclined to intuitively be drawn to, like what you said with gardening and going back to the earth and being soulful and going for hikes and you know, being your true essence, you know, being an artist and a poet and a philosopher and a researcher and a lover and a parent. Like, those are the things that we're meant to be here, and we can embrace those things and represent that, and that vibration can represent this long, rich tradition of what it means to be a Homo sapien, what it means to be based in natural law and to be based in true, you know, mystical anarchy, and to be anti-statist in the sense that we're not gonna fall for this left-right, red-blue paradigm, and we're not gonna be based in fear, and we're not gonna be based in these false narratives that are pushing germ theory and the Hegelian dialectic and, you know, cognitive dissonance and all of these other, you know, frustrating tricks that keep us, you know, from realizing who we are. So I think that your sentiment that what we really need to do is resonate in our truth and to embrace our trauma, whatever that might be, to accept it, to have your dark night of the soul, to put it behind you and thank it, to be like, thank you for that trauma. It's going to make me stronger. And then we push forth and we speak this truth with love and conviction and care for the human condition. And in that context, if you're resonating in that spirit, the one thing they can never ever take from us is our communion and our sacrament with going back to the source. If you're based in all those loving, you know, positive attributes, You're destined to go back to the sacred covenant.
Que se benefician de los servicios del consulado. La semana que administration has been largely
Esa soledad, pero al mismo tiempo en ese momento Jesús no está.
Surrender to your source, like a leaf to the tree branch. Become the roots, singing to the earth plane. Like the haiku that I penned above a few moons back, we must all surrender to our source, and to the source of all creation since the first gleam and breath of life. And like a leaf to the tree branch, we all must surrender to that symbiotic and cymatic entanglement with not only the friendship between the leaf to the branch that gives us nurture and life, but with the branch to the tree to the roots to the forest to the earth plane, the terra firma to the mountains to the rivers to the oceans to the sky to the sky clock to the luminaries, the star field above to consciousness to God, and with Jehovah back to the proverbial and poetic, like a leaf to the branch. And so on and so forth, infinitum, throughout this cascading cycle of wonder and mystery, as we sail on our battalion of dinghies made with sweat and toil, with art and music, with poetry and laughter, with fellowship and community, with conviction and fortitude, with tears of joy, into the guiding will of unbounded oceans of freedom and hope for all beings. For all beings.
Well, you're my friend, it's what you told me. And can you see what's inside of me? Many times we've been out drinking, many times we've shared our thoughts. But did you ever notice the kind of thoughts I got? Well, you know I have a love for everyone I know. And you know I have a drive to live, I won't let go.
What is it to transform? What is
To burn the
transform?
rusted twine from the analog corpse, to tear, to claw, to rip open the rotting cocoon, to the death card cast by the gilded oracle to the fading self. Rumi once spoke, I am raw, well done, and burnt to a crisp. SKRY now speaks. I am a broken, mended, and ascending arrow, shot forth from the primordial essence of rising smoke, from the burning pyre within our hooded cloak, with hatchets drawn in one fist, and ink quills in the other, to the past, present, future, come what may, to the death and rebirth of the ever-present endless day, to the elemental SKRY within us all.
Could you see its opposition comes rising up sometimes? That its dreadful antiposition comes blacking in my mind. That I see a darkness, and that I see a darkness, and that I see a darkness, and that I see a darkness. Did you know how much I love you? There's a hope that somehow you can save.
Many times we shared our thoughts. Did you ever notice the kind of thoughts I've got? Well, you know I have a love for everyone I know. Everyone I know. And you know I have a drive
stop our whoring and pull the smiles inside and light it up forever and never go to sleep. My best unbeaten brother, this isn't all I see. Oh no, I see a darkness. 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 Did you know how much I love you? Is a hope that somehow you can save me from this darkness.
Set them wild, set them free. Set them wild, set them wild, set them free. Set them free, set them up and let them be their own release. It's time you can begin to let things breathe, let it be. Settle down now, settle down now, settle down now. Settle in and out again, you cannot win. You cannot you cannot be, you cannot lose, so go ahead, set them free.
Then a woman said, "Speak to us of joy and sorrow." And he answered, "Your joy is your sorrow unmasked. and the self-same well from which your laughter rises was oftentimes filled with your tears. And how else can it be? The deeper that sorrow carves into your being, the more joy you can contain. Is not the cup that holds your wine the very cup that was burned in the potter's oven? And is not the lute that soothes your spirit the very wood that was hollowed with knives? When you are joyous, look deep into your heart, and you shall find it is only that which has given you sorrow, that which is giving you joy. When you are sorrowful, look again into your heart, and you shall see that in truth you are weeping for what which has been your delight. Some of you say, joy is greater than sorrow, and others say, nay, sorrow is the greater. But I say unto you, they are inseparable. Together they come, and when one sits alone with you at your board, remember that the other is asleep upon your bed. Verily, you are suspended like scales between your sorrow and your joy. Only when you are empty are you at standstill and balanced. When the treasure keeper lifts you to weigh his gold and his silver, needs must your joy or your sorrow rise or fall.
Last year was a hard year for such a long time. This year's gonna be ours. Last year was a hard year for such a long time. This year's gonna be ours. Last year was a hard year for such a long time. This year's gonna be ours. Last year was a hard year for such a long time. This year's gonna be ours. The sun will shine. I won't hide. The sun will shine. And I won't hide. The sun will shine.
thinking of you. There's lightning bolts in my chest. I know you know. I think our love's the best. If you have to stay, I'll be on the water, catching the next wave. You can meet me where it breaks. Dream, 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 dream. There's lightning bolts in my chest. I know you know. I think our love's the best. If you have to stay, I'll be on the water, catching the next wave. You can meet me where it breaks. Dream, dream,
And you laugh so hard, you hurt your sides in pain. As you approach the sun, it rains on everyone. And you laugh so hard, you hurt your sides in pain.
Well, I'm at my present little hideaway outside in the country at a non-disclosed address in northeast Georgia. And I woke up this morning after sleeping in my van last night for a pretty challenging sleep. For some reason I woke up with night tremors and was scared. I had a pretty difficult dream, and then I attempted to get a handle on it, and I found my center, and I laid back down and felt this really stunning white light at the top of my head. Like, it was completely dark in my van, and there was this beautiful white, really soft white light kind of emanating from above me. And I've had this happen a few times, and it feels like it's like a moonlight above you, like if you're standing underneath the firmament at nighttime and the a soft moon is out. It had that feel to it, but the strangeness is that you're in total darkness, and your only firmament within you is your skull cranium, and the only real light up there in that region might be the pineal gland, might be the pole star, or the crown chakra, or that portal to the higher dimensions, to God, and to spirit, and to those realms, to where we're going back to when we go back home after we leave this earth plane. So I fell back asleep. This amazing rain came, and there's nothing more incredible than sleeping in a vehicle when it's raining. I fell back asleep, and I woke up this morning to this dream that was this series of, it's hard to explain, but it was a series of really funny, cascading kind of domino effect mishaps that turned this social situation into this really ridiculously hilarious, like gut-wrenchingly funny series of absurd things that happened. And I woke up just like really like those really intense, gut-wrenching laughter I had within me, and I felt like maybe it was like the way that the psyche or my spirit was adapting to the challenging night that I had, and it was giving me this joyful moment in the context of tribulation. And in the middle of that was this kind of mystical moment of having this light emanating from the crown chakra, and then I realized when I woke up, because the sun came up at like, it must be like 6 a.m. and it was kind of raining a little bit. There was all this bird song, so I thought I would record the bird song and also make a little document representing what, I just, the night, the evening, and the morning, what they had to gift me. But the sentiment, I think, is that I think the sorrow and the tribulations and the trials of the spirit are just as part and just as maybe relevant as all the joy and the love and the hope. There always seems to be this kind of equal distribution of it in my life, and I'm just coming to terms with the fact that this middle path is really, that light emanating from above, I think is the path.
Gone, gone, gone beyond, gone completely beyond. Gone, gone, gone beyond, gone completely beyond.
How do you feel? Elated, blissed out, happy, calm, collected, strengthened, centered, joyful, loving, full of care, infinite novelty. I feel like I could exponentially move with any gesture, manifest anything that my will longs for. I can sculpt and paint whatever needs to be painted. I'm just a vessel of the source. I'm feeling that river flowing through me. It's really, I'm really genuinely happy at peace. And I think that the sacrament was powerful for me because I needed to get grounded into spirit and soul. And I really feel through breath that I can step forward with that warrior spirit and go into the new terrain with conviction, love, and care. Breath is the road to all. Breath is the road to all. Heart glow, smile joy, heart glow, smile joy. All right, let's go ahead and set this timer. 5 minutes. What should we talk about this time? Since we talked about let's see here. Okay. All right. Spontaneously, I want to talk about Tartaria. I've been researching Tartaria now for about 3 years or so. I got into it in the wake of the whole geocentric flat earth narrative. And actually, after about 10 or 15 years of researching and studying almost everything interesting in the alternative media research community, there's not a topic I haven't ravaged through. So I think what I found in the Tartaria community is that, generally speaking, these people are more likely to have studied and researched and unraveled a lot of different truths connected to this concept of trying to get a handle on true reality, on truth, on you know, the essence of trying to extrapolate a sense of connection to what our true history is. And the fascinating thing about Tartaria is that I think that it really, without, how should I say this? I'm just, a part of me wants to, you know, basically give a broad overview of what Tartaria is, but let's just say that you've already done your basic research on the topic and you know about some of the ideas around it, like say elements around the mud flood and Antiquitech and star forts and the Greco-Roman architecture and the fake history and Anthology and John Levi, Martin Ledke, you know, all of the amazing researchers that are associated. Let's just assume that you already have a basic foundation of what Tartaria is. And if you haven't, I beg you to actually to do some research. And with that stated, I kind of want to have a more elevated resolution on it. Is that what I find so empowering about Tartaria is that if this narrative is true, which I think it is completely overwhelms me with joy and with hope that in the not so distant past there was a civilization that was arguably based in logos and in natural law and in creating and manifesting artwork and architecture and painting and literature and music that was literally reflecting sacred geometry and cymatics and sonoluminescence and using all the four elementals of nature, the fire, water, earth, air, that the alchemists talk about to extract ether, etheric energy, and to pull energy from the ether to heal us and to give us longer lives and to calibrate our spirits to this hyperdimensional realms that we live in. I think it was probably a time that the mystics were completely calibrated and tuned into all the subtle energy attributes and some of the ideas that, you know, that some of these people were living for hundreds of years and were maybe breatharians and were manufacturing and building and creating some of the most exquisitely stunning manifestations of art that you can barely even comprehend how they created them. I think that it was a time that it must have been so amazing to be living and to be an artist and a poet and a lover and a philosopher and an architect and a craftsman and an intellectual. And that the true idea of the Renaissance man was probably what it was like for all Tartarians or anybody who lived in this golden era. I really like the idea that the 1,000 years of fake history that were implanted into the narrative around the Dark Ages was maybe a 1,000-year reign of Tartaria. That was like the golden era. It was an era where Christ consciousness and Krishna consciousness and the illuminated beings that we heard about was probably very prevalent, and that the only way that this architecture, this building, and the music and the art could have been manifested was that if you were connected to Logos and to creation, and if you were connected to geocentrism and to transcendental science, to all these beautiful attributes that you only associate with higher consciousness. The general sentiment, I think, is this: that Tartaria, which arguably wasn't that long ago, was an incredible time to be alive. It must have been... Sky clock. I'm a geocentrist, aka flat earther, been in the movement for 5 years now, been studied and researched, put in thousands of hours of pondering and research and studying into this narrative. I consider myself a syncretist also, and really like the idea of the cosmic egg model with the toroidal energy field and a lot of that narrative around Martin Kenny, Mike Williams, Santos Bonacci, etc. And one of the things that I find so stunningly beautiful and magnificent about being a geocentrist is this concept of the sky clock. So above us appears to be this firmament, this rotating disk with a fixed star field that's literally never changed any parallax, never movement between the constellations. It's always the same rotating star field, which is one layer. And then there's all these other layers, like each planet or planete, each luminary, the sun and the moon, Venus, Mars, Mercury, Jupiter, etc. appear to be their own rotation. All of them presenting this transcendental sky clock, this unbelievable timepiece hovering above us, literally giving us the seconds and the minutes, the days, the weeks, the months, the years, the decades, the centuries, the millennia, the aeons, the grand cycles, the solar minimum and maximums. Like, it's literally clicking by like a watch. It's like finding a Victorian timepiece in the woods and you pick it up and you're like, obviously this was made by some intelligent human. Look at this beautiful Victorian timepiece, this stopwatch, look at the stunning mechanics, look at the craftsmanship. It's the same thing when we look up into the night sky, but it's more metaphysical, it's transcendental, it's hyper-dimensional, it's beyond description. Like when you look up at the sky during the day and at night, you're literally looking at a sky clock, a timepiece made by the Creator, made by the Great Riddle, made by the Highest High, made by God, by Jehovah, whatever adjectives or concepts or philosophies you want to project onto this great riddle. You still cannot deny the fact that it's a stunning creation. Look at that. You still cannot deny the fact that it's a stunning creation, and that the sky clock above is really one of the most powerful and beautiful truths and proofs that it's overwhelmingly a geocentric terra firma that we're living in, and that there's no way that that star field and that whole timepiece could literally stay the same for millennia if we were spinning in space at these insane velocities. The night sky would be continuously changing night after night, year after year, century after century. It would never ever be the same. The Earth is flat. We live in a geocentric system, arguably a cosmic egg model, toroidal energy field. I'm a syncretist.
Chino rechazó hoy las acusaciones cientos de sus correos electrónicos desde China. La acusación es inaceptable por
The idea, though, is to awaken to this path, to awaken to the mystic's path, to awaken what it means to be a spiritual anarchist, to want to resonate with what you were charged to do to come here. And everybody has a purpose. There is so much latent talent and undiscovered curiosities about people that have been suppressed. And if you could just lift the spirit a little bit and walk on this path with us and the millions strong out there that are part of this illuminated tribe that are wanting to come together, join us on this adventure, and bring all your talents and all your care and your gratitude and your respect into the circle, into this sacred coven of seekers. Climb up this mountain with this ocean of consciousness that is exponentially, I think, has the potentiality to expand and grow, but the darkness afoot is really keeping it at bay. I think it's important too to get a really broad scope of all these different topics and study as much as you can about different things. I like to think of it as climbing up on top of a mountain and looking out at the terrain and seeing everything, and seeing what might be the easiest passage to get to the next mountain range. You can get a better perspective the more that you know. And the higher you climb up that mountain of knowledge or gnosis in your search for God or search for truth, in this sacrament of love and care that we have in the human condition, it's easier to get a bigger handle on the terrain. Man, I'm at the end of my walk here. I ended up getting lost out in that trail. I'm not sure how many miles of trails it is, but it's definitely semi-extensive. I got lost and turned around. Ended up finding the trailhead and made it back to Watson Mill Bridge. There's literally no one here. Like, I haven't seen anyone. The place is completely empty. And it's amazing. So I decided, because of that, I'm generally a pretty private person. I'm not really one to go swimming in public. I think it's because I have so many tattoos and I don't like all the attention. But there's no one here. And I have this memories of my brother Mitchell, who anytime there was water around, he would go swimming. And there's some great footage of him in his in the videos that he left behind of him just jumping into water and going swimming. So I've decided I'm gonna go swimming here all over. I've swam here before. Usually this place is packed with people. There's people everywhere. But maybe because of this quarantining and social distancing, no one's coming to these parks or something. Maybe the park's closed. Maybe I'm not supposed to be here. I don't know. But anyway, I'm gonna go swimming. So I think I've got some swimming trunks in the car, and the sun just came out. It's beautiful. I'm at Watson Mill Bridge. We could have the baptism of SKRY, the baptism of Watson here at Watson Mill Bridge. Look at that stunning covered bridge. But yeah, so give me a few minutes. I'm gonna go find some shorts, and I'm gonna hop in these sacred waters.
Now I lay me down to stay awake. Pray the Lord, my soul, to take into your wakefulness, so that I can get this one bit of wisdom clear. Grace comes to forgive, and then forgive again. Now I lay me down to stay awake. Pray the Lord, my soul, to take into your wakefulness, so that I can get this one bit of wisdom clear. Grace comes to forgive, and then forgive again.
It's a long and dusty road, a hot and a heavy load. The folks I meet ain't always kind. Some are bad and some are good. Some have done the best they could. Some have tried to ease my trouble in mind. And I can't help but wonder where I'm bound, where I'm bound. Can't help but wonder where I'm bound. I've been wandering through this land, doing the best I can, trying to find what I was meant to do. And the people that I see look as worried as can be, and it looks like they are wondering too. And I can't help but wonder where I'm bound, where I'm bound. Can't help but wonder where I'm bound. Now I had a little girl one time, she had lips like sherry wine, and she loved me till my head went plumb insane. But I was too blind to see she was drifting away from me, and my good gal went off on a morning train. And I can't help but wonder where I'm bound, where I'm bound. Can't help but wonder where I'm bound. And I had a buddy back home, but he started out to roam, and I hear he's out by Frisco Bay. And sometimes when I've had a few, his old voice comes a-ringing through, and I'm going out to see him some old day. And I can't help but wonder where I'm bound, where I'm bound. Can't help but wonder where I'm bound. Well, if you see me passing by, and you sit and you wonder why, and you wish that you were a rambler too, nail your shoes to the kitchen floor, lace them up and bar the door. Thank your stars for the roof that's over you. And I can't help but wonder where I'm bound, where I'm bound. Can't help but wonder where I'm bound.
The birds have vanished into the sky, and now the last cloud drains away. We sit together, the mountain and me, until only the mountain remains. Until only the mountain remains. The birds have vanished into the sky, and now the last cloud drains away. We sit together, the mountain. The path of the monk may be my path. A life of solitude and balance with community. communion with the healing prana and the transcendental power of seasonal fasting, the love and devotion of autodidactic research and the elusive search for knowledge, the kinship between the poet artisan and the transcendent muse, in part with the cornucopia of other divine attributes and soulful sacraments echoing from high above, just may facilitate my longing for apotheosis when I take my last gasp of air and my first breath of ether. The alchemical transmutation, the marriage of the authentic sacred feminine and masculine, and what is known in the arcane and esoteric mystery school traditions hidden within Western alchemy, known as your great work, only to manifest when you are deep within 4 to 5 decades of the distillery and distillation of life. You must be pummeled to the ground dozens of times and rise up again and again and again with a lust for life and no reservations or options for defeat. With hatchets and arrows in one hand and spit and vinegar in the other, the collective you must keep your boots to the mud at the front lines, defending your spirit and your light against the darkness afoot. The time has come for us to rise up in these draconian times of deception and darkness and step into who we are destined and fated to become. Follow your heart and join the innumerable illuminated beings along this fierce army of ascended saints and sentient beings. My dear friends, always know that I have chosen the light over the darkness. I have chosen love over fear. And I am finally ready to walk the path with the sages, oracles, and soothsayers and get prepared for what's to come, just over the hills and not too far away. As Rumi's epitaph states in the intro with such grace, clarity, and conviction, I am raw, well done, and burnt to a crisp.
No use crying, talking to a stranger, naming the sorrow you see. Too many bad times, too many sad times. nobody knows what you mean. But if somehow you could pack up your sorrows and give them all to me, you would lose them. I know how to use them. Give them all to me. No use rambling, dreaming in the darkness, seeking out a satisfied mind. Too many wrong times, too many long times. Nobody's walking behind. But if somehow you could pack up your sorrows, give them all to me, them. I know how to use them. Give them all to me. No use roaming, going by the roadside, looking for a spirit that's free. Too many highways, too many byways, and nobody knows what you see. But if somehow you could pack up your sorrows and give them all to me, you would lose them. I know how to use them. Give them all. But if somehow you could pack up your sorrows and give them all to me, you would lose them. I know how to use them. Give them all. Give them all to me. Give them all to me.
I am forever grateful to all your collective love, healing, insight, care, and friendships, and to the light within us all as we all start the transmutation of the letting go, and we attempt against all odds to surrender to our source.
Every precious human being's been a precious parent too.
human being's been a precious parent to you. What can be done? What can we do? What can be done? What can we do? Go out and love, love, love everyone. Go out and love, love, love everyone. Go out and love, love, love everyone. Go out and love, love, love everyone.
As the empire crumbles, as the empire crumbles, as the empire rumbles, as the empire rumbles, I'm on the road. I'm on the hoping road. I've got a lot of hope. And that's what this frequency resonates in with, is hope. So I'm on the hoping road. So I'm on the hoping road.
This life that I live has took me everywhere. There ain't no place I ain't never gone. But it's kinda like the saying that you heard so many times. Well, there just ain't no place like home. Did you ever see a she-gator protect her youngs, or fish in a river swimming free? Did you ever see the beauty of the hills of Carolina, or the sweetness of the grass in Tennessee? And Lord, I can't make any changes. All I can do is write them in a song. Just but I can see the concrete slowly creeping. Lord, take me in mind before that comes. Like to see a mountain stream a flowing, like to see a young'un with his dog. Did you ever stop and think about, well, the air you're breathing? Well, you better listen to my song. And Lord, I can't make any changes. All I can do is write them in a song. Yes, but I can see the concrete slowly creeping. Lord, take me in mind before that comes.
Man, was that not one of the best tattoo sessions ever? Right in the middle of the tattoo session, the assemblage's backyard. He's on fire.
Everybody's just regaining themselves back from it all. How everything was here.
So we had a little distraction midway into the tattoo, and now we're trying to finish it racing with the sun. We got a little bit of time left, but man, what a nice.
No big deal, we live out in the country. It's no big deal, we live out in the country. Okay, hold on guys. Do not touch this thing. Let me get some footage first.
So this footage might not even work.
Do not blow this out yet. This is phenomenal, guys. I always wanted to burn this. I always wanted to burn this. I always wanted to burn this. No, please, do not do that yet. Can you give me, can you?
It's not, this isn't gonna put this fire out. This isn't gonna put this fire out.
Let it burn, let it burn, let it burn. Can you just let it burn? It's too late. It's already burning. It's already going out. Look at it. It's already going out. Look at it. It's quieting down. We're good. It's fine. It's gonna go out.
We gotta get that cross that we Mom.
Hold on, Martin. Hold on, Martin.
The fire department on us.
It's okay.
It's horrible.
It's not.
It's dark.
Who cares? It's cool. Who cares? It's cool. Step back a foot or two, Martin.
Watson, are you filming it or are you?
Yes. I'm trying to get good footage of this and you're in my way.
Fuck the footage. Fuck the footage. Fuck the footage.
Get the fuck back, okay? This is my piece. We're putting it out. It's almost out. All right, now slowly just let it go.
You gonna make a movie out of it?
Sure. Okay, we're putting it out. Okay, we're putting it out.
Turn up the water. Turn up the water. We got pyro watch. We got pyro watch.
All right, keep a little bit of those flames. Hold on a second.
Damn it,
Come on now. It's already out.
It's out. It's
just
just charcoal.
Fire in there.
You're gonna make a movie out of it.
Yeah, fuck yeah, man. Yeah, well, let's go to wait.
Yeah, this is one of the coolest things happened to me for a while.
Oh yeah, off. Oh yeah, off.
All right, now can we just let it smolder?
Who saw it? I saw smoke and I'm like, what?
All right, we're good now. Step back with the water.
No,
Can I just
you
get
gotta
some smoldering? I want to get some smoldering, okay? It's out. Get the water! Get the fucking... get that... fucking water! Fucking water! Stop! Can you give me 60 seconds? Come on, seriously, Robbie. Go back. Give me... It's almost done.
Man, this is one of the coolest things happened to me for a while.
At the tone, 3 hours, 35 minutes. Coordinated Universal Time.